back to stage two as we segue seamlessly into a panel discussion now on AI in procurement and supply chains. Should be simple enough, a couple of minutes, all questions solved. I think not. So welcome to our panel. Thank you very much for joining us. Natasha Gurevich, founder and CEO of Candor Procurement, formerly with Nike or Nike, whichever part of the world you come from. And Eric Oberlander from PwC, Prina Darwin, Chief Product Officer at Barrow, and a welcome back to Olivier Brugier from Synertrade, who are sponsoring this, this panel discussion. So where on earth do we start? Can you give me some good examples of where, either within your companies or where you've assisted other companies to embed AI technology, bearing in mind the warning that we had, Olivia, earlier, which is the answer isn't technology. The question isn't technology. The question is, what do you need it to do? But have we got some great examples of how it's been embedded? Who wants to pick up first?
Maybe I'll start first, and maybe can I be honest with you and fully transparent? I have not seen a real or a single case of a real AI application during the past couple of years across so many different procurement organizations. I really feel like, and we've seen that, in every presentation we see the Gartner hype cycle. I feel AI is, on the one hand, completely overhyped at the moment, especially in procurement and operations. But on the other hand, it's also completely procurement buyers are completely underestimating its mid and long-term potential. So I think every procurement vendor, every technology provider, and I like that within your presentation that it was not so, okay, AI is going to solve everything. Everybody has like AI in big bold letters in front of their homepage and all the marketing materials, and goes to the procurement organizations and says, hey, we are going to solve all your problems now. I think that's not the case, right? But I also think that buyers and CPOs looking at AI completely are, because they are probably not so happy with what the current technology providers are delivering, are not really valuing it at the right level, what AI actually will do in the next couple of years. And I'm very happy to dive into that during today's panel.
Thank you. Natasha.
I think the reason it's hype, because since the beginning of 2023, the venture capital invested nearly $98 billion in AI, right? When you plugged so much money into something, yeah, that will be on the top of the page. And I really appreciate honesty with which Olivier delivered his presentation on Synertrade, that it's in infancy. And it's still very uncertain where and how it's going to play. And again, following the theme that Olivia starts, that we first need to ask ourselves a question: what does it solve? What is it solving? What is it for? Right? And I can give you an example that when I joined one of the companies in my past, and I asked the team for the dashboard how the team is performing against the savings metric. And I said, I would like to see how you're tracking against the goal. And they said, we're tracking fantastically, great. We don't have a goal. I'm like, that's charming. All right, still would like to see some numbers. What's the spend and what we're doing? And they said, we currently don't have a piece of technology in place to track that. That was not like in the past century. That was in this century. And I had a conversation with the head of technology, and they said, we'll implement AI solution. It will take a year or so. I came to my data analytics team that consisted of 2 people straight from college, right? They've probably been in business for like, I don't know, less than a year. And I was scratching my head. I'm like, I don't understand how I can run billion-dollar business without multi-billion-dollar business without really having visibility to any numbers. And they said, yeah, we understand. 2 days later, I was looking at the first draft of the dashboard. So just 2 people, you unleash their creativity. You don't even set any parameters to them. You just clearly identify what is missing and what requires a solution. And the young minds, creative minds, they just used Tableau as a platform, and they collected all the data points, brought them in together. Is it like a fully blown and super sophisticated AI solution? No, it's not. But it worked, and I, as a CPO of a global company, had visibility to all the numbers I needed.
That's partly depressing to know that it's the young kids who are doing the brilliant work.
No, but that actually is beautiful, because this is a wonderful culmination and kind of like congruency of us coming with experience and knowing what we need to run effective organization, and them knowing how to deliver it, while the $95 billion are getting to work into bringing us to the next stage, which I'm very excited about and looking forward to. It's just we're not there yet.
Pretty happy.
Yeah, I think I concur with what Eric said, what Natasha said, and actually couldn't agree more with Olivier that it's really about what are you using it for, and are you clear on your expectations. I think the other piece is expectations, that okay, we have customers, they embrace something we've done, but if they are expecting it's an AI-based technology and it's going to be 100% accurate 100% of the times, that's the wrong expectation. So as long as you are aware that it's coming from an AI technology, but you will still have to make your decision, put in your business context, your human knowledge into the mix, and then make a decision, that's when you will see that potential coming to fruition. Because I also agree with Eric that there is this balance about, are you too skeptical that you don't take that first step, or are you having that balance of taking the first step but also being clear about what to expect as an output from any technology. And we've and I think as an example of what you're using it for, so we are a procurement market intelligence firm, and we've used and I know not all AI is Gen AI, but what we did, so we have a platform with all sorts of market intelligence on categories, suppliers, and supply chains. And obviously, we had customers across many organizations coming in, looking at that data, trying to search for information. So when we did AI implementation on our platform, it was really about how do we make the life of our users simpler. So we launched Abby, which is a conversational AI bot. The purpose is very similar, giving access to that intelligence much faster. And it's a clear case of using Gen AI, but we didn't leave it at that. We put in a human in the loop component to this, so that it wasn't just go talk to Abby, which is our bot, and get all your answers. There is the human in case there's a context required and so on. So today we have about 600 different organizations, big corporates, using this AI bot to ask questions about markets, getting alerts from the tool, etc. So there is, at least in our business, we're seeing that as a big, implementation of technology which customers are using as well.
So Olivier, pick up the challenge there. The hype of AI is what everyone's talking about. It's the big sexy thing. But I think your presentation made clear it is a step-by-step, iterative, a small unit thing.
But yeah, absolutely. And it's not. There's no doubt for me that AI is going to stand forever. If you think about internet, so it's a long time ago now, but when internet arrived, a lot of people were challenging that the bubble internet. They say, oh yeah, but it's not going to solve everything. It's not going to be the HTML, the unique format of data exchange, etc. Nobody discussed about this now. It's obvious, but it took like 20 years. Cloud, same. When cloud started, everybody was saying, oh yeah, cloud is going to be massively public cloud, and the big actors are going to be there. And guess what? There's a lot of hybrid situation, which is the norm. And I think it's going to be the same with AI. It's obvious that if you look at the way AI works, it's going to change the way software are designed. It's going to change the way IT projects are put together, simply because it's going to be in each of the AI categories, bring something that is really helping to manipulate data and information and decision a lot better, different, faster. That's for sure. So it's going to last forever. That's why we have decided at Synertrade to take this this data fabric model alongside to the execution of the software in order to offer a place where you can use different tools in a very flexible manner, because that's the situation that customer face. And and that's our dream, we're going to see that in the next few months, to be able to offer something which is plug and play, not plug and pray, which is easy to say, more difficult to do. And we all know that. I mean, even in Excel today, you may have some situation where you're like, oh, I don't understand this macro, even in Excel. So that means that we are convinced that in order to help people, procurement people and stakeholders around, data management, using for sure AI, but in the right step-by-step approach is absolutely mandatory and good value to come.
Yeah, but now you can actually copy the entire macro, put it into ChatGPT or another LLM and ask, come on, explain it to me and tell me how I need to make it work, right? Because that's improves the process so much. And I actually, if it's okay, I'd like to ask the audience two questions. Who is working a true procurement professional, like a buyer, category manager, CPO? Raise your hand, come on. And now leave your hand up if you are truly leveraging AI and it's making an impact in your day-to-day work. Okay, we have one hand open, so one hand in the air. So I think that shows, okay, it's so still
you are the
way
AI
to go.
fighter. We need to discuss together.
I wanted to come to a story. I was going to ask you to come up with a genuine case history of where AI has made a measurable difference in terms that we can all understand and steal from. I don't know if it's a cheat, sir, to ask you in the audience, because you put your hand up to and confess it's making a difference where you are. Would you be able to share something very quickly? If you brought a microphone across, would that be okay? Shake your microphone to if you put your hand up, sir. Thank you. Just very briefly, just pick up on what Eric's saying.
Yeah, so my name is Keith McCabe. I run a procurement consultancy called AVAM Solutions. The main way that I'm using AI actively at the moment is supporting clients with bidding and tender responses. And what I'm able to do is sort of create a first draft for a response quite quickly, being able to stick to sort of word counts and themes that are being looked for, incorporating specification documents and all sorts of things. So it kind of brings out all the key elements as a first draft, and then work with that to sort of enhance it and redraft it. But getting to that early first stage is much more efficiently done.
Get you over that line.
Definitely.
Any other stories from the panels, Olivier?
Yeah, we've in our RFX solution, we, in brackets, play with it and play with the Gen AI tools in order to save time and to make things faster, better with some of our customers. And by the way, our customers use also their own Gen AI facility to try out this kind of situation. What is not so clear so far, and I will be happy to discuss that further, is once you have automated and saved some time, what is the next step you can go to for the face-to-face evaluation of some offers and tenders? And then what we have seen, quite quickly you come to a certain limitation of how, human intelligence is getting mandatory very quickly after the first step of getting the document prepared. And if you look at the whole process, it's interesting, but I think this is why people get a bit not so excited now, because of these counter hype effect. They say, okay, it can help you at this phase, but not for the full process. So this is again why we are now looking at the best strategy with different AIs in order to solve the full process, for instance, for RFX.
Yeah, it's a process augmentation, right? As Prina said as well. You need a context, and after you then put together your RFP documents, so me personally, I focus a lot on strategic sourcing and supply negotiations. I, together with buyers, Jen also just asked ChatGPT, okay, hey, this is the situation here. Can you analyze the market? Can you analyze the category? So give a little bit of context, as you mentioned, and see, okay, what can I get from that? What are potential arguments or levers I can use within that specific category and that specific supplier that I can actually apply? What are potential arguments that I can leverage? What are potential counter arguments that the supplier most likely will come up with that I will need to prepare for? So there are so many steps you can actually integrate as well.
Yeah, one area which we've integrated this again is in the area of price forecasts. So we provide a lot of forecasts around commodity prices and how they're expected to change. Now, historically, we've done that using more statistical methods, but our teams have now been using more linear regression, AI models, and other predictive modeling techniques, not Gen AI, but other more traditional AI methods to say how do we include other variables and a wider set of variables. So instead of only looking at historical price data and closely related feedstock and commodity, can we model in using AI impact of climate data, weather data, other data sets that combine to give you more robust insights and maybe wider time horizons as well. So that's another area that we are doing. Again, I wouldn't say that it's 100% AI driven. We still have those balances and checks in place, and also the knowledge that our commodity specialists have that come into the mix. But I did want to call out that specific area because price and inflation is a massive topic for the community at large.
Okay, I'm really happy to come to questions. Pop your hand up if you have any. But may I shift our conversation towards data? We were talking about earlier on stage 2. Without the right data, your tech is hopefully is not going to do what you need it to do. To what extent have clients or within your companies had to completely rebuild from the start your data?
Well, we've seen that, for instance, in our software, the way the software has been built, if we want to go to the next stage, and we want to go to the next stage, we have decided in the beginning of the year to rebuild the software in order to be data-driven. What does that mean? That means that we need to have an access to data and metadata that our software are using and manipulating in a more easy and secured manner. Because that's another thing on the table, which you want more data, you want to manipulate more data, but the security of those data are important. And again, back to basics. Data is not information. We all know that. It's not because you measure your temperature that you know whether you are sick or not. It's really something we have seen in the maturity move, even with mature customer we have, that, oh yeah, if we take the example of risk, let's manage risk. So usually it's risk with an S. And risk are going together. And how do you do that? Oh, we need data. All right, so let's have data. So you buy expensive set of data, and then you have a lot of data. But what do you do with this data? What decision you make, what perspective you can do, it's very quickly on your table in procurement teams to say, okay, again, what for? It's right that it's quite easy, and we've seen that a lot for customers say, okay, and I understand that, let's take as much as possible data, and then we'll see somehow. No, it doesn't very often doesn't work. It's more efficient to step by step think about, okay, what is exactly how we develop our software in this industry? Minimum viable product, minimum viable KPIs. Okay, I want to see this, and I want to demonstrate this first layer, and then this first layer, second layer. That's the way we advise our customer to work, and that's also the way we work in multi-step phases, because it's really complex. If you think about the data, if you think about assessing the risk profile with a CSRD new regulation in Europe of any company larger than even 50 million, good luck. It's complex, very quickly.
Yeah. I think, Olivier, I think you're hearing the same things, where the challenge we are now facing is actually too much data and too much noise. And if you kind of start with that, get all this data, where is all this data, let me bring here, without clear view of what is the story you want to tell, what problem you're looking to solve, then you're getting too bogged down with that data. And I think we've been hearing this word about cognitive overload, which I think all of us are struggling with, not just in our work life, but in general. And I think this is an example I had before, where I was meeting a CPO, and they were like, we got this new technology, and look, I'm getting alerts about what's happening with my suppliers and supply chains, and I love it. And I met them a month later, and they were like, I've deleted that app on my phone because it was way too much, and I didn't know what to really look at, it became too complex because we started with this shiny object and this new, AI technology, but it doesn't work. It creates more issues than it solves, really.
Yeah, structuring the data will get easier, though, with the capabilities of advanced AI, right? I remember years ago I had in my email inbox, in my Outlook, I had like dozens of folders for every topic, for every client, for every category, because the search was so bad and was so hard to find like the right sender with the right topic and the right file. And nowadays I don't need to do that anymore because the search is just getting so good. It's even a semantic search where I don't have to say like exactly the name of the sender, but just explain the topic and I will find the right email. And I think this also describes how organizations will be able to leverage data.
Yeah, I think technology will evolve at its pace, and I think it is like I actually quite like this step-by-step approach. So your step one is, where are we today with the technology capabilities, and what is our expectation of what that step one will get us to? And then, as technology evolves, as semantic search gets better, we hear about LLM embeddings and newer models come to light. You can say, okay, now step 2, now step 3. Now there'll always be your leaders who adopt and are more experimental in nature, and then others who will take that step 2 once others have taken step 2. See what I mean? So I agree with that.
I'll probably, I'm the only practitioner here, right? So to me, I always separate, I'm like, can I put it to work today, right? So totally agree with the premise that there is too much data. But for example, if we're doing spend assessment and analysis, I have to have accurate data. I cannot forecast anything. It will be garbage in, garbage out, right? So for that, I have to have accurate data. At the same time, if we're building a supplier relationship management program, and if we're tiering supplier base, and if we're trying to put controls in places to stop the floodgate of kind of like ongoing and endless supplier proliferation, when anyone in a company can add a new provider 300 a day, which just makes everyone dizzy. I don't need more data for that. That is more, you can make very practical steps just with what you have. And that will be extremely beneficial. These changes will not be costly, and they will help you, first of all, connect you deeper with those providers that you're tier 1, that your preferred supplier, that those who are closely connected to you based on the value proposition that your company generates to its consumers and customers. And it'll help you in having a very kind of like high degree risk management with the right providers. And it's kind of like there are some areas where that you don't have to overcomplicate and seek for more data, and you don't have to have high degree of accuracy. So it all depends on which area within the whole spectrum of how company buys goods and services, what you're looking at.
Yeah. I think maybe when we are starting to talk about data, most people think, okay, it's on the one hand the external data, and on the other hand, as you mentioned, okay, the internal data, the spent information. I think one other category is most often missing in that regard. I always like to look at it like a triangle. You have the internal, you have the external, but you also have the knowledge of your buyers and the knowledge which is within your procurement organization and is not actually codified, because there's so much knowledge, especially looking at the supplier relationships, which is of course in the heads of the buyers, and they are working with suppliers for years within specific categories and specific stakeholders. But once they transition out of their roles or categories and somebody completely new steps in, the entire history that is not within the systems is lost. And I think this is also something to think about and to integrate within your systems.
I wanted to pick up on the human element of this because it's, at the end of the day, it's people.
Exactly.
Do procurement teams have the right skills in place to cope with what's coming?
Well, if you think about the way they execute the different tasks for a procurement team, and it could be a challenge under your control, is that there's a lot of different things and a lot more on the plate that is coming every month, every year now on procurement teams. But I think it's going to be an evolution where, again, people will be challenged a lot on their ability to deliver the right answer at the right moment by different stakeholders and internal resources. And when you say, I need accurate data, just that needs to be challenged. So because accurate data, when you face a CFO, maybe some people have been through that, is like, what is data? Is it a good one? Difficult question when you're having this kind of situation.
I'd say that procurement professionals are the most trainable people in the workforce because we never source the same thing. We very often step into categories or into projects that we haven't faced yesterday and we haven't been familiar with before. So we constantly on kind of like on a learning curve. I would also say that probably key attribute, professional attribute to procurement is problem solving. And if procurement people have a formula for problem solving, it really doesn't matter what's in front of them. They'll figure it out. So I would say that this right skill set probably will be building up as AI will be maturing, so will the knowledge of the team. And I would say that the critical reasoning and logical thinking and ability to have a keen eye on what's accurate data, what's not, will be very instrumental. I'll just give you a very quick practical example. I was presenting at the conference last week, and I needed to compare how many Fortune 500 companies still in work from the original list that was compiled 69 years ago. And there are 49 companies that the same as in 1955, the Fortune 500. And I started going through the list, and I found that 13 of them were not even in business. Like some of the founders were not even born in 1955. And I asked ChatGPT about it. It's like, what does Dell computer doing here? It was founded in 1984. And ChatGPT said, yes, you are correct. Let me make my amends. And I'm like, and I was sharing it with my team. I'm like, that's how procurement mind works. We get all the data, we trust nothing, we verify everything so that we don't sit in front of the CFO saying like, I don't know where this number come from, right? So It's kind of like your question is right on because what we're discussing is technologies, artificial intellect, but it does still require human intellect to double check everything.
And that's a theme that's actually come through on this stage all day long. One of my jobs, I'm afraid, is to always look at the clock, and I promised you we'd get the entire world of AI sorted in 2 minutes. We haven't achieved either of those things, but we need to wrap up. Any final thoughts, either on future trends, which will take us another half an hour, which we haven't got? Final thoughts, future trends. What should we be looking at this year and next?
I'll say one word. It will crystallize.
I think going back to what I mentioned at the beginning, I think it will get procurement organizations will realize more and more what kind of impact it actually can have, not just on the technical sourcing part, but also on the strategic sourcing element. So a little bit longer than one word, but that's from my side.
Prina?
I think nothing I would say I'm expecting but hoping for rather is somehow this rift or this gap between B2B and B2C implementation of AI technology getting smaller over the next few years. That's what I'd hope for. Because again, sorry, going slightly longer and taking a few more seconds. I think what Natasha was saying, and to your question, the original question, I think it shouldn't really need new skills for procurement people. Their core skills are problem solving, better relationships with stakeholders and suppliers. So they shouldn't need new skills to use AI technology or any other technology. The technology should be so intuitive and good. That's not it's an aspiration, it's a hope, but that's not the reality. So that's what I'm hoping for, that we can all get to at some point there.
Olivier, what should people take away?
I'm gonna copy you. Crystallization. I think it's going to be hopefully in 25 the year after, I would say, after the year started 10 months ago, as I said, even if AI did not start 10 months ago. It's going to be the year where people will see, okay, it doesn't work there, but it works here, and engage step by step into this transformation that, as I said, is going to last forever.
Well, it just remains to me to thank our panel very much indeed. We've hardly even scratched the surface. We could go on for the rest of the afternoon, but thank you very much indeed.